Good evening and welcome to Source 16 News at 6. I'm Tammy Hancock, sitting in for Eddie Owen. Topping our news this hour, a wreck involving two ATVs in Trigg County last night claimed the life of a Cadiz woman and seriously injured one of the drivers. According to Kentucky State Police, 29-year-old Lisa Williams of Cadiz was pronounced dead on the scene of the crash around 5:45. State police say the fatal crash occurred around the 6500 block of Linton Road near the Linton Volunteer Fire Department when an ATV driven by 22-year-old Ronald Smith stopped to make a left-hand turn, and an ATV driven by 23-year-old Benjamin Papajeski of Cadiz could not stop in time and struck the back of Smith's ATV. Papajeski and his passenger Williams were both ejected from the ATV. Papajeski was treated on the scene by the Trigg County Ambulance and later airlifted to Vanderbilt Hospital in Nashville, where he is listed in stable condition this afternoon in the trauma unit. Police say Smith was treated at the scene and refused transport, but was later taken by private vehicle to Trigg County Hospital for treatment of minor injuries. According to state police, none of the riders were wearing a helmet. A local county judge executive has been selected to MC the 131st Annual Fancy Farm Political Picnic in August. Longtime Marshall County Judge Executive Mike Miller, a Democrat who has served as county judge since 1974, was selected to MC the Fancy Farm Political Picnic that unofficially kicks off this fall's campaigns for governor and other state offices. The lineup will include Kentucky's two U.S. Senators, Republicans Mitch McConnell of Louisville and Rand Paul from Bowling Green, 1st District Congressman Ed Whitfield of Hopkinsville, Democratic Governor Steve Beshear, who is seeking re-election, and his running mate, former Louisville Mayor Jerry Abramson, as well as Republican nominee for governor, State Senate President David Williams, and his running mate, State Agriculture Commissioner Richie Farmer. In addition, all candidates for state constitutional offices have been invited to speak. The Fancy Farm Picnic will be held Saturday, August 6th, with public speaking to get underway at 2 o'clock. Well, 2 of 3 lawsuits filed against the Christian County Board of Education have been transferred from Christian County Circuit Court to a federal courthouse in Paducah. School Board Attorney Jack Lackey Jr. told Source 16 today the 2 lawsuits were federal civil rights claims that state-level judges typically do not handle, unlike federal judges. Lackey says one of the lawsuits involves a May 2010 incident where a Belmont Elementary School student was allegedly hurt during a fight on a school bus. He adds the other lawsuit involves a November 2010 incident where a Martin Luther King Jr. Elementary School student was allegedly inappropriately touched by another child on the bus. According to Lackey, a district internal investigation revealed no negligence against both bus drivers. In addition to the 3 lawsuits against the Christian County Board of Education, another federal lawsuit is pending against the school district. Lackey says the lawsuit was filed in federal court over a year ago and involves former Crofton Elementary School teacher Lynn Gibson, who claims her contract was not renewed at the end of the 2008-09 school year because of a physical disability. Callaway County Middle School has a new principal. Amy Turner, who has served the past 3 years as assistant principal at the middle school, has been selected by the School-Based Decision-Making Council to serve as principal. Turner says in a release that she is excited to begin her new duties and will begin working immediately with the SBDM Council to hire a new assistant principal. Turner replaces Tanya Hunter, who was named to a new Callaway County district position to coordinate the implementation of Senate Bill 1. Christian County Fiscal Court approved several road department bids and adopted an early prevention program for minors during this morning's regular meeting. Magistrates approved 75 low bids for petroleum, road materials, and concrete culverts, tires, road tiles, and salts. Meanwhile, magistrates adopted a resolution for a Title V Community Delinquency Prevention Grant Program worth up to $60,000.
So this grant we've chosen to do what we call the Right Path program. We've entitled what we'll be applying for through it. It is very important for this community as far as this will be an early intervention for the juveniles. We're trying to prevent them, give them a ways and a means out of being put in front of the justice system.
Fiscal Court also approved a Rough Park tennis court lighting bid worth over $73,000 from KC Mill Supply. In other action, fiscal court recommended to hire Ronald Johnson and Associates, PSC, of Madisonville for the Pennyroyal Trailhead project.
Projects are actually two different projects. We have an equestrian trailhead project and we have a mountain bike trailhead project. The equestrian and mountain bike both consist of where these individuals that do these extracurricular activities are able to come in and have an area where they're able to pull their vehicles in, their trailers in, and unload their equipment.
Magistrates also approved an animal shelter service contract for Caldwell, Trigg, and Todd counties for $500 each per month. In other business, fiscal court approved an ordinance in its first reading to reaffirm fee collections at the Christian County Justice Center. The next fiscal court meeting is scheduled for July 12th at 8:30 that morning. Well, Fairview residents are taking a stand when it comes to the possible closure of their only post office. Last night during a public meeting at Bethel Baptist Church, a post office employee spoke to a crowd of nearly 100 people about the possible closure.
You have rights because of the historical importance of the Jefferson Davis Monument, we are trying to work and work out something. So that this being here does benefit this community and what we're trying to do. But in smaller communities like this, a lot of them, they're just asking people to put up boxes on the ground. So that does benefit the community.
For nearly 2 hours, residents had the opportunity to talk and voice their concerns and frustrations.
If y'all have one central postmaster in the county, and you take the lower ones because somebody's going to lose a job, say they're less qualified, but they can still run the post office, and they're at a less rate, wouldn't have to have more postal service, and then instead just trying to remove it.
Meanwhile, local elected officials also attended the meeting and expressed their support in keeping the 200-year-old post office open.
These post offices, especially in these rural communities, it's one of the key locations where so much activity goes on. So that's one of the reasons I want to be here, to show my support and try doing everything I can to help them be able to keep the post office open.
Well, it's important to the people in my district. I've got lots of people in my district that depend on this post office. We've got elderly people in this area that depend on this post office. It's been here for a long time, and I really think it needs to stay.
Representative Dossett urges Fairview residents to contact Congressman Ed Whitfield and other elected officials about keeping the post office open. In other news, a Hopkins County woman was injured in a single vehicle wreck on the Breathitt-Pennyroyal Parkway yesterday morning. 64-year-old Pamela Crick of White Plains was driving south on the parkway when state police say it appears she fell asleep around the 34-mile marker and her vehicle traveled off the road and into the median where it hit an earth embankment. Crick, who was reportedly wearing her seatbelt, was transported by ambulance to Regional Medical Center in Madisonville for treatment. A Hopkinsville fugitive turned himself in to authorities last night after being featured less than a week ago on the Hopkinsville Christian County Crime Stoppers. 33-year-old Chadwick Edwards was arrested by the Hopkinsville Police Department on 2 bench warrants signed by District Court Judge Jim Adams on March 10th for a probation violation and not paying fines. He was lodged in the Christian County Jail. Former Kentucky gubernatorial candidate Steve Nunn has been sentenced to life in prison with no possibility of parole after he entered a guilty plea this morning in connection to the 2009 death of his former fiancée. According to reports, 58-year-old Nunn was set to stand trial in August in the death of 29-year-old Amanda Ross of Lexington, but he entered a guilty plea this morning in Fayette Circuit Court to intentional murder with aggravating circumstances. The judge waived formal sentencing and sentenced Nunn to life in prison without the possibility of parole, but he could have been sentenced to death if he had been convicted of the murder. In addition, he pled guilty to violating an emergency protective order or domestic violence order and was given a 12-month sentence. Nunn's attorney asked that his client be sent to the Kentucky State Reformatory at LaGrange right away due to minor medical problems that needed to be addressed. Nunn reportedly acknowledged in court for the first time that he shot and killed Ross on September 11, 2009 outside her townhouse in downtown Lexington. Nunn, of course, as you know, is the son of former Kentucky Governor Louis B. Nunn. He's still facing 6 counts of wanton endangerment in Hart County after he allegedly fired a gun in the air at police officers at a Barron County cemetery several hours after Ross's shooting. In a story we reported at 10 last night, a hospital in Graves County will be forking over hundreds of thousands of dollars after reaching an agreement with federal prosecutors to settle allegations of false Medicare billing. U.S. Attorney David Hale today reported that Jackson Purchase Medical Center of Mayfield voluntarily reached an agreement to pay over $998,000 to be paid by electronic funds transfer no later than July 7th. According to the settlement agreement, the U.S. contends that Pineland Regional Hospital, LLC, doing business as Jackson Purchase Medical Center, inappropriately submitted additional charges to Medicare for certain gallbladder and biliary tract procedures. Specifically, federal prosecutors allege that the Mayfield Hospital submitted additional charges for these procedures as inpatient admissions when, in fact, they should have been billed as outpatient admissions. The overbilling covered a period between January 1st, 2004 through December 31st of last year. Jackson Purchase Medical Center has also agreed to enter into a 5-year corporate integrity agreement with the Office of Counsel to the Inspector General, which is neither an admission of the hospital nor a concession by the U.S. that its claims are not well-founded. A Callaway County woman was sentenced in court yesterday for her role in a murder that occurred last December. According to court records, Kayla Workman was sentenced to 5 years in jail but received a pretrial diversion and received credit for time already served behind bars. Workman was previously charged with complicity to murder, but it was amended down to complicity to tampering with physical evidence. 2 days before Christmas, police reportedly found the body of Callaway County resident Donald Scandal in the back seat of a wrecked car with multiple stab wounds to his chest, neck, and back. Workman's husband, Jason, was sentenced to 20 years in prison last week for his involvement in Scandal's murder.